I'm one of the dealers here at Paisley Pig, and I've asked to talk a little bit today about some of the things in my booth, specifically ephemera. Now most people go, what? Ephemera? And that's basically paper items more than anything else. When you look at some of the beautiful pieces of furniture around here, they were made to last. Same way with crocks and teapots and ironware. Those things were meant to last for years. When you put something on paper, it's basically transient in nature. Most people use it and throw it away. Maybe that's why it's very collectible today. Not all of it survived. So it can include everything from photographs, letters, documents, newspapers, cutouts, scrapbooks, just any number of things, a lot of which I kind of focus on. So with that, we'll kind of take a look around and see what we have available here. This is what I consider something that really makes paper items interesting. So many times you hear the phrase, if these antiques could talk to you. In most cases, paper literally does, because there are words written on it. In this case, it's a letter during the Civil War, written by a young lady on behalf of her mother, talking about the death of her brother during the Civil War, shot by a rebel sharpshooter. It's agonizing, it's painful, it's on black bordered mourning stationery, a black bordered envelope as well. So it's true history and literally speaks to you. Another piece that can speak to you down that same corner, I don't know if we can see it there, but it's a newspaper from Philadelphia, and I believe the year was 1787. This is during the time that the Constitution was being written in Philadelphia. Of course, one of the most fascinating things in newspapers are the ads and what was for sale of the day, how much prices were, things like that. And in some of these papers, even though it was Philadelphia and you don't think about it, there were ads for runaway slaves. So again, fascinating history. All right, another thing I mentioned, scrapbooks. Again, people make scrapbooks of everything from their personal mementos, whether it's tickets from their high school prom or whatever else it may be. This is an interesting scrapbook in that it's almost entirely automotive. And you see on these pages here, cutouts of early 20th century automobiles. These probably from the 1920s and 1930s. And this particular book is just filled. Now there you see some non-automotive things, but the vast majority of this particular scrapbook focuses on automotive items. So again, just another type of thing that you can find amongst paper goods. Another thing that we have, a big area of paper collectibles, I mentioned photographs earlier. There are a lot of different types of photographs. And some of them technically are not paper, but they fall into that ephemera items, things such as daguerreotypes, and we can talk a little bit more of that in a moment. But here we have stereo views. Back in the early, actually starting in the late 1800s, the stereo viewer was big entertainment. And of course, because they were done with two separate cameras that were offset at an angle, when you put the images side by side and look through the viewer, it would actually give you a 3D type image. So you see the actual card, individual cards placed in here, and you put it up and focus from there. And of course you can see they were manufactured by different people in different locales. You'll see different styles and different colorations on them, but all very interesting. All right, while we're talking about photography, a slightly different type of photograph, a very popular type, are carte de visites, a French term that applies to photos of the Civil War era. In this particular case, you see one of a little girl that's in this album. This album, again, Civil War era, nicely done, leather bound. This one is actually from the Louisville area, so it's Kentucky related, of great interest. The albums would come in all different sizes and shapes. They would hold different types of photographs. This one similar. I would have one here, if I can pull it out. This one is known as a gem type album, in that it holds very small gem types, small tin types. So again, the range of types of photography, the types of albums can vary very greatly. One of the most popular fields of collecting and photography is military photography. Back during the Civil War, virtually every young man that went off to war had his picture taken. Likewise, the folks back home, mom, dad, wives, children would have theirs to be sent to their loved one in the field. These right here are carte de visites as well, at least the majority of them are. I do have one tintype here of Civil War soldiers, so I have them. Now another one, and this is not the best example, it's a little bit dark, but this is a cased tintype. So many times when you see a photograph in a case like this, it's labeled as a daguerreotype. Well, that's not really true. It's a cased photograph. Daguerreotypes were done with the earliest form of photography and were put on silvered metal. And it's almost like you're looking in a mirror when you look at the photograph itself. These here are also Civil War generals, but these are all Confederates. Now, these are not photographs. These are engravings that were printed to kind of collect them all, almost like baseball cards during the Civil War era. Now, books are sort of an ephemera, obviously made of paper. They really have a collecting genre all their own. But I wanted to mention some of the ones that we have here. In this case, it's the lives of the James and Younger brothers, published in 1881. Probably the first book ever written about that notorious gang. A very, very collectible volume. Another interesting volume, not in the best of shape, but still there. The United States Dispensatory. It's basically an apothecary book for druggists, talk about drugs and how they're manufactured and dispensed, etc. Very, very interesting indeed. In this area, very popular, obviously, Daniel Boone. This is not in the best of shape, but an early volume on the life of Daniel Boone. And again, you can see other books up here. I have a 2-volume set, The Life and Times of Henry Clay, published in 1845. So, again, all part of ephemera, but real books are really an area unto themselves. I was speaking a minute ago about the stereo views. Well, the forerunner of those were really magic lantern slides. These are images that are placed on glass, sometimes in a wooden frame, sometimes they were just the glass themselves in a small square, which will then be put in a projector. The initial ones were powered by gas or oil lamp, later on with an electric light bulb. But again, that image would be projected on the screen. Normally these were given in presentations as opposed to, for home use, oftentimes in schools and civic organizations. This particular one, and I'm not sure if it shows there at all, is Washington crossing the Delaware during the American Revolution. Again, you'll see series everything from nature scenes, historical, religious, etc. So, magic lantern slides. Another area that I like a lot, and we see a lot of, are toy soldiers. In this particular case, these are true ephemera. During World War II, because of the shortage of metal and recycling efforts for the war effort, a lot of soldiers were made out of non-metal. In this case, paper soldiers. And these were cutouts, and they had little bases. You would bend the base back so that they would stand up. So you see soldiers such as that. Now, we also have non-ephemera type soldiers, and shift over here just a little bit. You'll see the selection that we have. Various manufacturers, various compositions. Most of them are lead soldiers, Barclay, man oil, etc. Others, made out of composition, ground up sawdust and such. And of course, not just soldiers, but we have jockeys, and we have skaters, and we have railroad people. Have the little cloth tents that might go with the soldiers. Not to mention some of the small vehicles and everything else. So again, a wide variety. And the Paisley Pig, that's one of the things I love most about the Paisley Pig. The variety in here is tremendous. If you can't find it here, you're going to be hard pressed, or maybe you need to go to a specialty mall or booth to find what you need, because amongst the various vendors that are here, you can find just about anything. I talked about how ephemera can encompass so many things, and in this particular binder, again, bills, letterheads, and neat stuff. Again, stuff is probably the best word, because there's no telling what you might see in here. Everything from, you can see the bill of fare with a horse on it, to checks and tax bills, a telegram with a Thanksgiving letterhead, patriotic letterhead from World War II written by a soldier. More of that kind of thing. I have some in here somewhere, I believe, from Fort Knox. So just a lot of different things. Ladies' hairnet, an almanac. So again, just a lot of different things that ephemera can encompass, and have children's magazines from the 1930s, Milady's Shopping Guide. The variety is endless, and that's one of the things I love about it. And as I told you at the very beginning, they literally speak to you. You can learn a lot of history from these various items.